Good morning. I'm Secretary of State Shanna Bellows, and we are back on day 4 of the ranked choice voting tabulation for Congressional District 2, the race between Jared Golden, the incumbent congressman, a Democrat from Lewiston, and Representative Austin Terrio, a former state representative from Aroostook County. Now, we have already done tremendous progress over the last few days. Remember, in this process of ranked choice voting tabulation, the first step is verifying the vote. So we scan ballots from towns that count their ballots on election night by hand. Remember, Maine runs our elections at the municipal level, at the city and town level. And so we have some really small towns in Maine. We are small town America right here in our state. And those towns can, in fact, and do hand count their ballots. But we do need to upload those ballots, that data into our system here. So those were scanned over the first couple of days back on the DS850, which is a high-speed scanner produced by ES&S, our partner. These machines, these tabulators are like a modern day abacus. They're counting machines. They're never connected to the internet, so they can't be hacked. And they meet the federal standards for security and election integrity. So we also have to upload the memory devices from any town that counts their ballots on election night using the DS200 tabulators in those towns, also produced by ES&S. And so for Aroostook County, for Washington County, for Oxford County, Franklin County, Somerset County, Piscataquis County, and Penobscot County, we were able to confirm that we have everything that we need to verify the vote from election night. And so now today, we will be looking at those auxiliary ballots. What are auxiliary ballots? Auxiliary ballots are ballots that can't be scanned into the scanner. Maybe a voter folded them multiple times. Maybe they crumpled it. Maybe they tear their ballot by accident. But guess what? The good news is every vote counts. Even if you accidentally tore your ballot before you tried to put it in the tabulator, if it doesn't go through the tabulator, it can go through the auxiliary thing. And it looks like Melissa is trying to make sure that the room is open, that the motion detectors are off, so we don't keep tripping the alarm as we come in and out. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Tom. Deputy Melissa Packard is our deputy for election administration, post-election audits, and administrative services. And she and Director of Elections, Heidi Peckham, are overseeing this operation today, which is truly, we really appreciate the hard work that Heidi and Melissa are doing. So let's see, today, what's going to be happening behind? We've just, Director Peckham has just opened the room with the ballots in it, and you have law enforcement standing by to safeguard those ballots. We really appreciate our partnerships with Maine State Police and the Department of Secretary of State Enforcement Division in protecting ballot security and the chain of custody. You also have a table there. We've got Shannon and Marianne, Joanne, Tori, John standing by to start work on the reconciliation process. So if you were watching yesterday, you know that counting votes is a lot like accounting. So any of those accountants out there, come on down, work for elections. And Marianne just gave a smile because she had an accounting background before she came over to elections. And so the reconciliation process is making sure that what was counted here on site, what was uploaded from those memory devices, from those tabulators, from those towns, or scanned in the DS850 matches what the municipalities reported to the Secretary of State in the 2 business days following Election Day. And so we want to make sure those totals match, and then we present it to the campaigns for their review, their scrutiny to make sure those totals match. And that's the process of reconciliation. So watching reconciliation is a lot like watching your accountants or your auditors if you run a business or a nonprofit. If you've ever watched those accountants or auditors, maybe you don't, right? You get a cup of coffee and hope that all of your finances in your nonprofit or business tie out. We have been watching those elections officials reconciling those results for the last couple of days. It's a painstaking, methodical process. And with the auxiliary ballots, which are those ballots that couldn't go through the machines, not only is our team hand counting those and tallying them, but then another team is creating what's called a cast vote record. Now, a cast vote record is a digital picture of every single vote. Every single vote in CD2 will become a cast vote record, either through the scanning or through the uploads of the memory devices or through the manual creation of these cast vote records. And those cast vote records in their entirety are what the computer uses to reallocate the second choices of the approximately 12,000 voters that didn't pick either Golden or Ontario as their first choice. So that is what we need to do. We're going to create a cast vote record for every voter in Congressional District 2. And guess what? The Elections Division is going to proof the cast vote records. So we know there were over 400,000 roughly votes in that district. They're going to look and proof the cast vote record, make sure that we have a cast vote record for every ballot cast in every town in CD2. So that also is going to be a painstaking, methodical, and slow process. That's what's going to be happening today. So it's not going to be as exciting as watching ballot scan. Now, if any of the cast vote records are not uploaded into the system, if they don't transfer appropriately from the DS850 or from the memory devices, then what happens? Well, we saw this in 2022 when we could not acquire the cast vote records for two towns. We actually, and Bangor and Hamden at the time, we actually scanned all of those ballots from those towns. So when we proof that cast vote record, we may in fact find that we need to rescan ballots from certain towns just to make sure that every vote from every town is in that cast vote record before we hit the button for that ranked choice voting tabulation. And the computer does what we would do if we were literally stacking ballots, looking at that second choice and reallocating the second choice for those 12,000 voters who picked either Diane Miranda, the declared write-in candidate, or somebody else. Maybe they wrote in a favorite human, a favorite elected official, a favorite non-human. Every single one of those votes that was cast for any option other than Ontario or Golden, the program will look at their second choice. And those second choices for those 12,000 voters roughly will get reallocated to Golden Ontario in accordance with the will of the voters. And that will give us the final result in Congressional District 2. So stay tuned. We will see what's going on in the reconciliation process. You can see folks just getting started. We start the process with the live stream. So if it looks like there's some prep work happening, you can know that everything that we do in this room is not only on camera, but also in full view. We have the attorneys here from both campaigns, from the Ontario campaign and the Golden campaign. We also have observers from Congress, which we're really happy to host. So don't go away. I'll be back. Also, for the first time ever, the Maine Secretary of State Elections Division is running a recount for a legislative race in Lewiston and the ranked choice voting tabulation at the same time. We have a record number of recounts for a year that we're doing a ranked choice voting tabulation. That's because Maine is a purple state. So today we're recounting a race in Lewiston. The difference was 36 votes. And that's not even the closest race. We'll talk about the tie. We'll be live streaming that as well. Check it out on our Facebook page. And so there's a recount starting in the other room that's being run by Deputy Secretary Julie Flynn. She is the longest serving election director in the state. And then here in this room, you can see actually the representatives from the two campaigns are getting ready to do those reconciliations. Stay tuned, don't go away. We'll be right back. Are you on Oh, okay. Great. And then we'll give you these to do the auxiliary ballots on ballots. Okay. Yeah. You got it. I'm sorry, what was that? Yes. So the attorneys are actually working on Penobscot County. So I'm going to X out Penobscot County. They hadn't quite finished yesterday, so they're going to be looking at Penobscot County. That's the one here. Let's talk to both sides. And we also are going to review those hand count ballots from those towns shortly as well.
Yeah.
So for any reconciliation that doesn't tie out, we may go back and rescan ballots. So we've got some boxes in the back of the room. We've got two teams here. What are these two teams doing? they are checking what are called the auxiliary ballots. So those ballots are in those envelopes that were sealed. And those ballots are ballots that didn't go through the machines. They are going to get hand counted by these teams, and the teams are creating cast vote records for those ballots. So we are doing a lot of reconciliation today. It won't be a super exciting process, but it's really important. It is verifying every single ballot is being captured here, totaled here, counted here. Every vote is being counted. Now, I'm going to walk over and see what's going on with the Lewiston recount just down the hall at our secure facility at 45 Commerce Drive here in Augusta. Every member of the public is welcome to come check it out. Come to Augusta if you want to be here in the room and watch the ranked choice voting tabulation for Congressional District 2 or the Lewiston recount. Stay tuned. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's, we gotta touch your notes.
I need to sign right over there. Yes, yeah. I know. What is the number? Yep. Oh, sorry. Try to make this argument. Hello and welcome back. I just went down to the room where the Lewiston recount will happen shortly. Deputy Secretary Flynn is training the room, getting everything set up and ready to go. So that is not on our live stream yet, but it will be. If you want to watch 2 live streams at the same time, you're going to be able to do that shortly. But we do have a tremendous amount of number of people from the campaigns, because in a recount, what is actually happening is every ballot in that district is getting counted by hand, not by election workers, but by one representative from each campaign. So in Lewiston, that's a Democrat and a Republican. They'll be sitting at a table on that live stream. There'll be an election worker overseeing that table, making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. But there'll be full transparency, and the ballots will be being counted by the 2 opposing sides. So there's reconciliation there. Now, there will be attorneys in the room. If there's any dispute about what a ballot, how a ballot should be read or what a ballot suggests, the attorneys will be there to resolve that. Ready to go? So speaking of attorneys, we've got the attorneys from the Golden Ontario campaign. We want to give them an update. I'll be right back. You guys ready?
And our final step is to reconcile another Catholic records. So we should have one Catholic record. So not to get county on all 6 of them uploaded to our system. One of them would not require our system to produce the Catholic record. So in that case, 6 were fine. There were 3 of them. DS, after 6, 5, 5. Total right, 4 is right, but it did not require to produce Catholic records, which means yes, the box, like top of the clerk, in one box, it was absentee and forwarded. Bring it back. You can open that, but unfortunately the boxes don't say absentee, so we're gonna have to open one by one to find that box, and then we'll have to take those absentees and scan to the 50 and do it that way. So check what's happening.
Yeah, they're not
If they're not clearly marked, what I'll have to do is I'll have to go to the system and back out these 2 steps, which I can do, and then we'll have to run all of it, including 50, and upload it that way. Yeah, I mean, these, I can see the Catholic records, I mean, we're checking them to make sure it's coming in. Okay, that, you know, the sticks, the totals are correct, and on the sticks, it just is actually, there's a serial or something like that. I will allow it into our system.
so
Yes. Yes. We've met, we require
everything except for
everything. We required everything. We uploaded everything that's been scanned has been required. Yeah. Everything that we put into the system has required. This is the only one. Yes.
right. So do you remember oh, they told us our second choice was that you're saying it's the blank. So yeah, so it's just a corrected working report.
Okay. Yes. They're the ones. Yes. 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 And you see that? And that mistake has nothing to do with the memory mistake. It's just like coincidence.
Because they do actually tell from the pages you see those second choices. They're just not supposed to be reported.
Yeah. So every book of these, you can see the password records, and actually with that.
Do you all want to watch us open the Edington boxes?
I had realized second step required. So it sounds like it's separate. Second reconciliation of this report.
Yes. Yes, I think when I looked at them, I can see clearly there are 906 password budgets. And this, and the other way that I
They're
know.
missing this number of
Yeah.
records.
What's the report that? How will you like?
Well, just basically what happens is you can see us uploading all the sticks from the past, right? All the hand count ones are going to the high-speed scanner and do an export of one stick for that. So there are many times that and we upload that the same way. So everything goes into what's called TRM, it's from the program. And then from that, it's connected to our ballot creation software, it's a launch in there. And there's a function in that called acquire. And once we've uploaded the media, we do this daily. We acquire, instead of waiting to the end to make sure there's any issues. We acquire, as soon as we acquire, we go to another sense. So from there, we export that as Excel, then we bring it over there, and then we'll do one final Excel sheet. The Excel sheets that I exported from there there are 4 of them. Each Excel sheet has 100,000 records on it. And then so the 4th one is the odd one, which I would have to look at. So it's not a perfect 4, and I knew it immediately because we were acquiring, even though it uploaded it to the TRM, it's produced this report, so if the stick is correct, it would not acquire it to the system. And I think we see this, the system, it was an error message, yeah. And so we were consulting with the SNS on that yesterday. I've seen this before, I think that's what actually happened with bank here. And, you know, it allows you to upload the results into the system, but not acquire them.
So it's a error.
Right, everything was uploaded from the media. So see everything, and then at the bottom, bang. To be honest, to see them, very hard to fix. So, but in order to fix this, we do need to open boxes. And I think we got one by one. And she said, well, we have some things for the box, and they will be folded out, so that they can.
Oh, right. And then we'll show you, so you can see here.
And for some reason, if you run those and it doesn't pull, I would say you don't save it on there. We open all the boxes. Entire time. But you have to look at the back of those other two, so that makes sense.
Okay, you want to come up with boxes?
I'm gonna need to go get the cards because they're at the recount.
Oh, okay. Oh, we don't have extra cutters.
We can go for it, but they didn't.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So we're back, and you're probably wondering, why was I talking with the attorneys from both the Terrio and the Golden campaign? The reason we were talking with the attorneys is in that reconciliation process. Remember, I said we're going to look and make sure we have cast vote records for every single vote in every single town. Well, it turns out the cast vote records for Edington for the absentee votes didn't come over into the system. We could see that because we know exactly how many absentee voters there were in Edington. And we know how many totals there were for Terrio and Golden. And when those cast vote records didn't come across, what does that mean? It means we need to scan those ballots. So they will be opening the boxes for Edington. Now it's just the absentee ballots. They will be looking for the absentee ballots. The attorneys will be making sure that that's what is being opened and what's being selected. And then those will be run through the DS 850. That will allow us to produce those cast vote records so that the reconciliation that the campaigns are also helping us with will tie out. And so that as we proof those cast vote records, we're going to see all of the votes for every town across the whole state. Now, I just confirmed with Director Peckham that in fact, we do have the cast vote records. They've transferred across for all the tabulator towns for all of the counties, with that one exception of one town of Edington in Penobscot County. So given the number of towns in CD2 in our 11 counties, we're pretty pleased that the only ballots that we're needing to scan, at least at this point, as we go through that methodical reconciliation, is Edington. So they are opening the boxes for Edington in full view of those attorneys, and then looking for those absentee ballots that they will be scanning through the DS 850. Now, when they do that scan, they can look and make sure that the number of ballots scanned matched the number of absentee ballots for Edington, which matches the number of absentee voters for Edington. So there are multiple checks and balances on this process. This is a vote verification stage for the ranked choice voting tabulation for Congressional District 2. That race between Jared Golden and Austin Terrio, with less than 2,000 votes separating those two candidates, and about 12,000 other voters picking something other than Terrio or Golden. Now, because those 12,000 other voters statistically could change the race, that is what results in us having to do this ranked choice voting tabulation. My phone's ringing. I'll be right back. We could use be awesome. We're at 45 Commerce Drive.
Yeah, got it, yeah.
So the first box they opened was the box that they believed to be the absentee ballot box, and sure enough, it was. The attorneys confirmed that. They've taken photos of that box. Now, in that box are both absentees for the referendum ballots and for the candidate ballots. So you can see in the back of the room, Tori, Heidi, and Melissa are sorting those ballots out. And then they will be scanning those ballots in the DS-850. Now, the attorneys are going to check the numbers for the scan to make sure that the absentee ballots matches what's on the DS-850. So that is the process. We'll be scanning those Edington ballots. Hopefully, Director Peckham said maybe those will be the last ballots that get scanned today. We are in that reconciliation process where we're doing hand counts of ballots that need to be counted by hand. You can see John and Grace are creating those manual cast vote records. You can see in the front of the room, the campaigns are in fact proofing the cast vote records for those hand count ballots. What county are you on, Angela and Joanne?
Hancock.
Hancock, oh, my home county. I'm from Hancock in Hancock County. I went to Ellsworth High School. They're proofing those auxiliary ballots from Hancock County. Those are ballots that wouldn't go through the tabulators, whether they be in Ellsworth or Sullivan or those other towns that use tabulators on election day or when they were processing absentees, whether because of folding or, oh, that ballot looks like it's torn actually. Yep, you can see that would be a reason it wouldn't go through the machine, but it would still count. So that's what the campaign is doing there. There's a representative from Terry's campaign and a representative from Golden's campaign proofing the cast vote record. And a cast vote record is a fancy spreadsheet that covers every single one. I just got word on my phone, Lewiston has started. So if you want to do 2 live streams, the Lewiston Recount is over on Facebook, on the Maine Secretary of State's Facebook page, just as this one is on our YouTube site. So we'll be doing a ranked choice voting tabulation and a recount live with you today. And that Lewiston race is a 36 vote margin. Incumbent Democrat Mike LaJoy pulling that race off by 36 votes. The recount will confirm and verify those vote totals from election night. Absentee ballots were read. We did see the cast vote record.
Yes. Good day. Yeah.
So I just checked in with the different teams here in the front. Representatives from the Terrio and Golden campaign are verifying the cast vote records for these auxiliary ballots. They're ballots that would not feed through the tabulators, so they were counted by hand. And they're making sure that the manual hand count that the election staff did and double checked is in fact aligned with what the campaigns agree that they're seeing on that cast vote record. So I checked and saw where we are, Southwest Harbor. Beautiful town, Southwest Harbor in Hancock County. Check it out. If you want some good seafood, go to the island, Mount Desert Island at Southwest Harbor, Northeast Harbor, Bar Harbor, and Coast Cove. So back here, Grace and John, I asked them what they were working on. They are doing that manual cast vote record for those ballots, those auxiliary ballots, that's going to be checked by the campaign. They said they're on the town of Lisbon. They just did Lewiston. Now they've got the town of Lisbon. Those are larger municipalities there in Androscoggin County. In Androscoggin County, there are no towns that are so small that they are doing entirely hand count. They're all using those DS200 tabulators that are never connected to the internet. They're hardened devices. They can't be hacked. So that's really important from a cybersecurity perspective. Those tabulators are part of a statewide lease. So in Maine, every single municipality is using the same tabulation mechanism that ensures uniformity. It also ensures that every single city and town is adhering to federal security standards, which is obviously very important. We appreciate the work at the federal level. It's bipartisan work, folks coming together, or nonpartisan work really through the Election Assistance Commission to establish those standards. And any manufacturer that's creating tabulators to count votes really should be adhering to those national standards. And we're grateful for our partnership with ES&S, a company that does in fact meet those standards and has been a very good partner for Maine towns and cities over the last decade. Now I went over to that. I checked out what Shannon and Mary Ann were doing. They are also creating their manual cast vote records for hand count auxiliary ballots, and they were looking at Waldo County. So they were in the town of Unity when I walked over there to check that out. So if you've ever been to the Common Ground Fair, that is one of Maine's highlights in the fall, really just put on by the Maine Organic Farmers and Growers Association, lots of agricultural displays, social justice displays, just a terrific, terrific event. And in the back, of course, they're still sorting out referendum ballots from candidate ballots. They want to make very sure that they're only identifying those 505, I believe it is, absentee ballots. I better check that number with the attorneys, but the attorneys are watching that sorting process. Then those ballots will be flattened. They will be scanned in the DS 850 over there. So we'll be able to scan those Edington ballots and ensure that we have a cast vote record for every vote in the town of Edington in Penobscot County. So that's where we're at with the ranked choice voting tabulation. We're on day 4. So we started at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. We made really good progress. We have scanned all of the ballots from those little towns that are counting ballots by hand on election night. We've uploaded all of the memory devices from all of those larger cities and towns that utilize the DS200 tabulators. So right now we're in that reconciliation process. We're looking at those ballots that wouldn't go through the scanners, wouldn't go through the DS200 or the DS850, counting those by hand, creating that cast vote record, proofing it, and then the attorneys or the campaigns will proof it. It looks like they finished proofing all the Hancock County auxiliary ballots, which is good news. So don't go away. We'll be here all day. Well, hopefully we'll finish sooner rather than later. But proofreading, going slow to go smooth, going smooth to go fast is the watchword. Sean, can you tell me, were the Hancock County auxiliary ballot cast vote records correct?
We have a few corrections.
We have a few corrections. So they're going to work on those corrections and then bring it back so the campaigns can agree. And that is why the campaign looks at that work so that the campaigns can agree that the cast vote records reflect the voter intent and what happened on election night. That's why we have a triple check of this process. So I'm going to touch base and find out where we are back at the back of the room. Oh, great. So the campaigns will have more time for all the time. So we'll go on to that. I don't see it for this one. So on the back of the room, they're scanning those Edington ballots. Now they're absentee ballots, so they were folded before they went through the scanner. Now in Edington, they did go through their DS 200. John is working to make sure that they can go through the DS 850. The attorneys are watching. And yeah, those folded absentee ballots can be a little bit more finicky as they go through that scanner. But what's happening in the back of the room is that every ballot, every absentee ballot for Edington will be scanned, will be counted. So this is really important that we get those ballots really flat, really. And John has been working at the DS 850 over the last 3.5 days. He's a pro. That scanner is so fast, which is really great. So as long as the ballots can go through smoothly, that scanner is going to get the job done. So meanwhile, in the front of the room, what's going on here? Oh, so at the front of the room, the campaigns are proofing the auxiliary ballots, the ballots that had to be counted by hand. Here's the elections division for Kennebec County. Now, when they proved Hancock County, there were a couple of corrections that needed to be made. So the team back at the table will make those corrections, bring them back to the campaigns. So the campaigns are looking at the ballots, they're looking at the cast vote record, and they're making sure that the manual cast vote record reflects voter intent as the campaigns see it. Now, how might there be a difference? Well, someone might call a stray mark a blank, and the campaigns might say, no, actually, we're going to count that mark even though it's outside of the oval as a vote, or vice versa. Perhaps an elections official counted that as a vote if it was outside the oval, but the two campaigns are like, no, we think that's a blank. So that proofreading of that manual hand count, those hand count ballots, those are ballots where they couldn't be read by the DS200 scanner or the 850 scanner, and they're going ballot by ballot, line by line to do that proofreading. We'll make the corrections the campaigns have asked us to make for Hancock County and then bring it back to the table for them to prove. Stay tuned.
We had that chair go a flat tire.
Oh,
No one breaks.
Yeah, right, no breaks themselves.
Are you subbing in?
No. So,
So That's all we do. But we've already said something. So we'll just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manchester, oh, it's my town. So I just did a walk around, and right here at the front table, they're working on Manchester. Shout out to Manchester. That's my current hometown. We have lots of apples. We have Lake Cobbessy. We have the lighthouse. So it's a great little town. I also have a great little neighborhood, a lot of trails too. So they are, what are the campaigns doing? The campaigns are verifying those cast vote records. So remember, a tabulator is reading the ballot. Now they're reading the ovals, but then it's creating a cast vote record. The cast vote record is a digital image of the votes. So what it looks like is you see a number for the cast vote record ID number. You don't know whose it is. So even though I voted absentee, I don't know if I crumpled up my ballot too much and it didn't go through the machine. It might be in there, but the ballots don't have identifiers that trace back to the voters. Why is that? Because we want to prevent any sort of coercion or corruption, any pressure on voters. So the voters' vote is anonymous. The fact that they voted is public, but the voters' vote is anonymous. That being said, we need to capture a record of every single vote. So in a ranked choice race, you had Jared Golden, Austin Terrio, declared write-in, Diane Miranda of Surrey, and voters had the option of writing in someone else or leaving a first choice blank. And so the cast vote record is the ID number of the cast vote record. And then for this race, it would be Golden blank blank, Terrio blank blank, Miranda, Golden, Terrio, Miranda, Terrio, Golden. Those cast vote records will reflect the voter intent. Now, because those ballots couldn't go through that DS 850, they were too ripped, too crumpled, or on election night couldn't go through, for example, in Manchester's DS 200. They had to be counted by hand on election night, and they had to be counted by hand here in this room by election officials. Election officials then manually create that cast vote record to record for each vote what the voter preference was. Now the campaigns take a look at it and they see if they agree with that interpretation of that count. And so they are proofing those manual cast vote records for those auxiliary ballots. And they're on Kennebec County. There's another bin there. I understand that's for Androscoggin County. That's next in line. Hi, Sharon. Kim. It's a compliment. Thank you. So we have probably the state's expert in recounts after Deputy Secretary Julie Flynn. Kim Pettengill works for the Maine Republican Party. She's been doing recounts almost as long as Deputy Secretary Flynn. Longer? Longer, she says. Her first recount was in 1974. So she has been through it all. She knows exactly what she's doing. Now she's doing double duty today because she's working on behalf of the Maine Republican Party, both for the Lewiston recount, that 36 vote margin, and here on site. So why don't we have you come forward, and if we have a Democrat, we can have you work on the networks. Let me find out. Oh, we're right there. Yeah. No, you stay there. They can keep doing that. But Donald, you wanted to?
No, I'll go.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. So actually, Joanne, I'll sit here for a minute while
Kim, Kim, which notebooks?
oh, my study's out. So yeah. We want to get ones.
No, we went. No, we went.
You did it? You guys did it. Canada will know. There you go. I think that's 2 in 1. Great, there you go.
Even just like.
I don't have to do that. I just sit with you.
So Kim, once we finish these, we'll get into your file. You know you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to come over here? So you can- So first, just want to make sure everyone's on the same. Or we can still show it also show you that. Okay, so the Ohava can. This is going to explain how to double.
Yeah, make sure that you gotta.
So with Ohava, they don't use the ballots that are produced by ES. We have a system that produces a ballot, and that is scannable, but we can't double check it by running it through the machine. But we do have the report that is produced.
So what's happening now, we just finished scanning those Edington absentee ballots. And I am very happy to report that those ballots did in fact tie out to the totals. The attorneys confirmed that was 211 first choice votes for Jared Golden, 277 first choice votes for Austin Terrio, 1 overvote, 16 undervotes. What's an undervote? That's where it's literally blank in that column. It's a total of 505 absentee ballots. And that in fact did scan into the machine. So now Heidi and John are just going to take that data, download those cast vote records, make sure the cast vote records get into the system so that they can be proofread. Now here, we've got the campaigns getting an explanation. They're talking through the election night Yokava votes. So those are the military and overseas votes, making sure that they understand our system for processing military and overseas votes for Congressional District 2. What are those votes? Well, fun fact, there's a federal law, and that federal law requires that in every state, if there are people from your state who are serving in the military overseas, or they're in the Peace Corps, like I was, or maybe they're students studying abroad. Actually, I did that too. Or maybe they're in the State Department or working for an international business or an international nonprofit organization. All of those American citizens living abroad or overseas, we say overseas, but it includes Mexico and Canada too, right next door. If they're American citizens whose home state is Maine, they have a constitutional federal right to vote under this federal law. Now, they get their ballots 45 days ahead of Election Day. They get their ballots before anyone else. They can request a paper ballot be mailed to them through the traditional postal service. They can also request an electronic ballot. This is a secure electronic transfer. It produces a paper record just like every other vote because Maine does use those paper ballots. And those voters can transmit that vote securely, electronically through the Yokava system. When those Yokava votes are counted, now they're counted on election night, just like every other vote. And they're counted just like in towns all across Maine by equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats. So we are very grateful for the Republican Yokava warden who worked in elections on election night. They were there till 2 or 3 in the morning, counting those military and overseas votes with both sides. So Melissa is prepping the teams, walking them through those Yokava votes. I'll be right back. In the middle, they're working on those hand count ballots from Waldo County.
So you would read at 5. All right, let's look at the best brightest part of the sphere. 26, 51. Goes to 26, 72. Everybody agrees with that? 26. So that should be the diamond of classical quality. So the report that we put out publicly included those numbers. What it didn't reflect was the ballots that are planned in the first election. So when we got to so there were 100 ballots that were not. Starting at 26, 73, there's no vote there. No vote there. But we do need to get these out some carryover jurisdictions. So see, it's all nice. So we started with 26 and right. Yeah. So basically
So essentially what happened is at 3 o'clock in the morning, they had counted the blanks and done not Diane Martinez, the right hand. So it's and then money to write it and it ended up being 11 for Miranda and 11 for Mike. So those were the 11 lines that were recorded on the lines. They were recorded on this. No, we will have 21 advance or to 56. So it's certainly we'll add to that spreadsheet and then so 100 seats are one of them is going to be Jericho. One of them is that's like they take the machine and then it's annotated with the hand count. So it's more what was it? It's not the word. So are you guys satisfied with the household record? So. I mean, are you guys satisfied with this scenario? It would be like some big different ballot, so that would be done as recount. Thank you. Does Josh need anything or can having this on? Okay, thanks, John. Okay. So back to the notebooks. Yeah.
Jonathan. Austin's gonna.
Jordan, I need to run down to the other one.
Yeah. Kim's gonna give you the letter. It's great to meet you. And Austin's there at 11:30. There. It's just weird stuff that's in the other. Appreciate your help with that. Sorry to ask it.
Yes. Okay. Good job. You're perfect. No, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Tutorial.
Okay, so the campaigns just proved the military and overseas votes. And they confirmed that with the military and overseas votes for Congressional District 2, for those first choices, Jared Golden received 2,174. Austin Terrio received 526. Diane Miranda, and they count those write-ins by hand on election night. It was like 3:00 in the morning, had 11 votes where write-in was filled in. Undeclared write-ins, other than Diane Miranda, had 11. Now, those get recorded in the warden's tally sheet and in the warden's report as blanks because under Maine law, undeclared write-ins are not counted individually. So we don't know how many people in Maine voted for Mickey Mouse versus Mom. And then there were 108 votes that were completely blank. That means those overseas voters did not make any choices in CD2. Perhaps they were really interested in president and nothing else. We don't know. And then there were 7 additional votes where there was a blank first choice, meaning they didn't fill in that first oval, but they made a choice, either second choice for Austin or Jared, or third choice for Austin or Jared. And so one thing that the campaigns reviewed is that the warden's tally sheet on election night demonstrated those cast vote records. All of those ballots were counted when the warden and the volunteers there, the Republican and Democrat, signed off on the warden's return of votes cast. They skipped those 115 blanks in that first choice, because remember, they're reporting those first choices. But when you look at that return of votes cast, you see those 115 blank in the first row. Now, 108 of those are totally blank, but there are 7 votes that will be counted in that ranked choice voting tabulation. And so the campaigns just looked at those numbers. They looked at those cast vote records for the military and overseas votes and confirmed that those numbers reflect what was counted on election night. We have those cast vote records here. Now, if there are any disputes about whether a vote from a military or overseas voter should or shouldn't be counted, there's been a little bit online and on the radio about that. Those disputes would be adjudicated in any hand recount of the race. And we do have a paper record every single vote because Maine uses paper ballots, which are the gold standard in election security. Now, at the front of the room, we're still the campaign. We have a Republican and a Democrat here, representatives from the Terrio and the Golden campaign, proofing those auxiliary ballots, which is really exciting. And it looks like Emily Cook has joined us. You've come over from the Lewiston Recount, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful news.
So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our double feature today. So yes, they are underway over at the House District 96 recount. Just came over here to check on what's happening here. And can I steal Secretary Bell's away from you all?
You want me to go over to Lewiston? Yay! We'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll be live streaming all day.
No, just one.
Let's skip it all fast. And we'll go back to the
that role.
Enthusiastic. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Yeah, that's fine. This is from one second. I just.
Kim did that, so.
Oh, Kim did it?
Yes, Kim did it, so ask her to say,
I was told you to take it,
but no, no, we did not.
So what are you guys working on?
We're working on,
Wonderful. So right here, I just checked in with this team. They are proofing the totals town by town for Waldo County. And I'll check out what auxiliary ballots are being checked. Lewiston. They are proofing the auxiliary ballots here for the city of Lewiston. Beautiful city, great rich history. Shout out to Kathy Montejo, the Lewiston clerk. She's one of the best. I don't know if she's watching this live stream or the Lewiston recount that's happening in the other room. But she runs an excellent election. She's been doing this for a long time. She actually represented Maine on the Election Assistance Commission Standards Board at the national level. She's a true expert. I think in the back, we're just waiting to see if there are any totals off. So the campaigns are doing this proofreading, and I'll circle back and see what they're up to. Oh, you're red. So I just checked in with Director Peckham, Director of Elections. She's been doing this for a couple of decades. She is really an expert. She was part of the ranked choice voting tabulation in 2022 and 2018. She said the next step, once the campaigns have proofed these auxiliary ballots, they've proofed the totals town by town, then they will begin the compilation of all of the cast vote records for every single town. I'll have to get from her the exact total of votes for CD2, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of cast vote records, close to 400,000 cast vote records. Then she's going to proof the cast vote records town by town to ensure that, again, in that cast vote record, that master file of all of the votes for all of the towns, that the total number of cast vote records by town matches the total number of votes, but those totals match. That proofing is going to take probably an hour, maybe two, she said. She said she can't predict. And then once that proofing is done, once they have ensured that there is a cast vote record for every ballot for every town in the system, then they will be at a point where they can run that ranked choice voting calculation. So we're still a couple of hours away. We're in the proofing and reconciliation phase. It's less exciting to watch than the transport of ballots or the upload of scanning of ballots on the DS-850. Perhaps less exciting than watching those ballot boxes come in and come out and be opened, seeing those seals, the double seal that creates a chain of custody and so much security on our elections. But it's really important, just like doing a financial audit, just like doing accounting, everything gets proved multiple times at different phases in the process so that every single one of us who lives in CD2, I live in CD2 in the town of Manchester, can be assured that every vote was counted accurately. So stay tuned, don't go away. We're still a couple of hours away as campaigns assist in proofing the work of the election staff And as we go into this final phase, which will be proofing the entire compilation of cast vote records for all the towns. Stay tuned, don't go away. Wondering on timing. We'll be back. I mean, unless something goes really terrible, I'll start over. We went to
Well. Oh. There's a little bit more complexity. But I think maybe what happens. Yeah, so those were both January elections. Yeah. I'm not talking yet.
Okay, let's start today. Good morning. How's it going?
Oh, I totally right.
Well, it took a while for your laptop to do that. My thing anyway. That's the first time I've been signing on. So it's like,
You could- But that's the difference. So we have 20 days to certify.
It was just like.
Yes. I think. That's one of those tapes there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Did you guys just finish something?
Yeah.
Did you finish all the auxiliary ballots?
Yep.
And everything.
We did already.
You already did your stuff again. Everything ties up.
Just
Excellent. So kudos to the two campaigns, Democrats and Republicans, getting together. They have proofed all of those auxiliary hand count ballots. Now, why do we call it an auxiliary ballot? That's because if you're a town that uses the DS200 tabulator, you've probably seen that there's a slot in that DS200. If you're trying to put your ballot in and maybe you got nervous, maybe you crumpled it up because you're kind of upset, but then you flattened it out. For whatever reason, if a voter is not able to get their ballot into the DS200, maybe the machine's just being finicky that day, they can place it in the auxiliary slot. Now, those ballots do count. They are counted. Election workers, after the polls close, will try to put those ballots through the DS200 and see one more time, can they scan them? If they can't scan them, then they have to count them by hand. After they've counted them by hand, they put them in a separate auxiliary ballot envelope to distinguish them from all of the ballots that went through the DS200, the modern day abacus, the scanner. So when those are hand counted in the towns, we also have to hand count them here, which is what the elections division did. But then the campaigns need to verify that those counts of those ballots, those totals for the various candidates, and that the manual cast vote record tied out to the ballots. So I just confirmed the campaigns have verified all of those auxiliary ballots for every single town. So we are through reconciliation. Have we finished Penobscot County with the binders? I believe we have. Excellent. They're on Hancock. So they're reconciling Hancock County as we speak. I just heard them say Cranberry Isle, beautiful island. Check it out, but not in the wintertime. I mean, not that it's not beautiful in the wintertime, but you have to be pretty hardy to go out there in the winter. But the summer, it is really, truly a special gem of a community. And shout out to all of the year-round residents out there and to those voters. So they are proofing those ballots that came off of Cranberry Island that were counted. Oh no, they're proofing the book. They're proofing the totals for Cranberry Island. They're in that Hancock County book, proofing all of the towns, making sure that the total number of ballots counted here on site match the totals reported by the towns from those municipalities on election night. So looks like they've got, it looks like are they in their last notebook period? They're in the last notebook. Okay, they saved the best for last. So they did Androscoggin and Kennebuck?
Yes.
And you did Kennebuck?
We have.
Oh, they need to do Kennebuck, Hancock, and Waldo.
Yes.
Excellent. So Kennebuck, Hancock, and Waldo, not saving the best for last. Not that they're, not that Hancock County is the best county, but it is the county I'm from. Emily, any updates over in the Lewiston recount as far as you know?
Not that I'm
Come talk to folks about.
no updates that I'm aware of from the Lewiston recount, which probably means things are going smoothly, methodically through that recount. So what they were starting with, the several wards in Lewiston have multiple House districts overlapping them. So what they were starting with is making sure in Ward 4 that they are separating out all of those House District 96 ballots from any other ballot, whether that's candidate ballots from other House districts within that ward, or if any of those referendum ballots got mixed in. So they're starting just separating those so they can count only the House District 96 ballots, but all of the House District 96 ballots.
Perfect. So you heard it here. They're doing a recount in the other room, supervised by Deputy Secretary Julie Flynn. That is being live streamed on our Facebook. That is a hand count. We're working on that reconciliation process. So they need to reconcile Hancock, Waldo, and Kennebec. Actually, we have reconciled, uploaded and reconciled Utah. So that was done earlier this morning. So we're done with Utah. We're done with Androscoggin. We're done with Milestone, Scotticus, and Washington, and Franklin. So we just have Kennebec, Waldo, and Hancock. Now, there will be another reconciliation. So folks are seeing that county by county reconciliation here by the campaigns with the notebooks. There will be another reconciliation, and the final reconciliation will be all of the cast vote records. I'm going to walk around and find out exactly how many those will be.
So this is all very long. So we have four.
So I said hundreds of thousands. It's just over 403,000 votes cast in that race. So not only did we do this county by county proofing, we proved both the totals, making sure that the ballots that we counted here on site, that we were verifying those counts match the totals that were reported on election night. We have verified all of that town by town, county by county, with 3 counties still left, Hancock, Waldo, and Kennebec. Then we will need to compile. So all of those cast vote records from all the towns, from all the counties, once each county has been finalized, need to be imported together. When we have a unified list of all of the cast vote records that has been acquired, those need to be proofed too. Our elections division will be proofing that entire cast vote record. So this is not going to happen before lunch. It will be happening sometime this afternoon, because to proofread all of those records for all of those towns is going to take some time. But that is why we do this. We want to verify the vote. We want to make sure that we have a cast vote record for literally every vote, more than 400,000 of them, that was cast in CD2 before we run that ranked choice voting tabulation. Now, what do I mean when I say run the ranked choice voting tabulation? If we were doing this by hand, we would look at the approximately 12,000 votes that were not first choices, either for Golden or for Terrio. And we'd probably move them in piles, right? We'd take, Terrio would have his pile, Golden would have his pile, then we'd have these other 12,000, and people would be literally looking at the second choice and reallocating them, right? Instead, the computer will do that for us, utilizing these cast vote records, but it is of the utmost vital importance that we have a cast vote record for every single ballot. So that's what we're doing today. It's a reconciliation process. Watching this happen is less exciting perhaps than watching the paint dry in your home, but it is so important that it be accurate, that it be secure, that we verify the vote, and that's what we're doing today. Thanks very much. I'll be back in a little bit. You can see the campaigns are doing that reconciliation.
That looks like that one. And I've got one auxiliary. Let's add that. So that brings us to 668. 668. Give that one more time. Absolutely. Yeah. I do want to show it. I've done it. Like, slow it right down. Like, yes. Let's bring you into my math class. Okay. So this is absolutely. This is absentee, and this is what you're seeing. So on my absentee, we have 2 sheets for both. I'm going to add one. That's an auxiliary. to Fletcher's Landing. That's 291, and that ties into our 950. And I will, you can,
Do you wanna try that again?
actually, you want to do it?
The main set, no, you got.
67 plus 291
Yeah, plus the exit.
plus that auxiliary. And you guys approved that auxiliary separately, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, no worry.
Do you want to
Sure.
do Ontario numbers now?
We did it, yeah, that was stereo, wasn't
Yeah, it was just a one.
it? Okay. Let's do that. Zero. So when we do it, we combine our right and average. So we're looking at 95. Yep. Right, you got 2, you got 93. So I've got 7. 2 on the other, 72. Machine absentee. Okay, let's go to machine budget. I got a 0, a 0, over. 5. Would you like to look at that? I know. Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Yeah. Get over. It gets confusing on election night.
Sure
People
does.
reserve the results, get the results you want sometimes. I don't know why.
Are you all good with elsewhere?
It's an issue.
You say this again.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, so Ellsworth budget planning, the way you do it, why isn't it just reported that way?
Oh, report elsewhere, the report
That's
budget
right,
separately.
because what happens is the report, people call it in, well, like, I'm giving you the budget planning results, and then they'll give you the Ellsworth results. It gets very. That's a bit, that happened many times on election night. We would get no calls.
So are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's a big.
Yeah, I mean, with townships, we have, you know, host towns, sometimes they share the same style, sometimes they're different style, which we call exception style.
Yeah.
And whether it's a machine or paper towns, sometimes they report together. There are some towns that have to report separately or choose to.
What's the one town? Is it, what's the one person township that we have? Everybody else? You're one person. who's in one township.
So you're probably talking about Bristol Clouds Island has one township over.
Yes.
And then spreadsheets of all the townships and all the different connections. So they're all a little bit different. Some report together, some report separately, some are the same ballot styles, some are different.
If we want to fix this legislatively, I would be really happy to get uniformity among townships.
That's what I'm saying, we'll solve that.
Townships can make their choices, yes.
I would say wrong, but people like.
They're either combining the township or they're double counting it because they're saying, oh, this is what Fletcher's Landing is, and then this is what Ellsworth is, and it has Fletcher's Landing in it. Yeah.
It's the inconsistency.
I mean, we have townships that are host towns like. I mean, Illinois has.
So yeah, let's do some township report bipartisan. in the next session.
Are you both good with
Well-
that? Sorry. Just want to make sure that Ellsworth is good.
Do you
Do you have questions about the process this morning? Right? So one thing I do, I've shared this on screen. I'll let you
I was like, whoa.
This is a password record. That's what it says. We have over 43,000 password records. The final step is when they're recorded into a single place. So we won't be getting results before March. We'll probably break the lunch, right? Yeah. Oh, you're getting results from that lunch. So just for the room, I'm having the stand-ups around lunchtime. We're gonna break the lunch. We won't have results from lunch. We are in the final stages of proofing county by county. Then we have to bring all of the password records together for 403,000 votes, and then they will proof that. So there's still a lot of proofing that has to happen, proofing 400,000 less votes, Catholic records, so it takes some time. So we're talking probably, early to mid-afternoon. They'll stop before we can go and just give everybody one advance notice, so folks can go out if there's no out of town. And, yeah, I'm happy to do stand-ups on TV if you want preview videos. Yeah, I can do live. Yeah. What time is it now?
It's 11.
Oh, so yeah. Oh, we'll break for an hour. We'll break for like maybe 2 hours. But I'm happy to do. I might not write right. Depending on. So there are a lot of states approving. So what they're printing right now, so remember we scanned ballots from Edington towns. We uploaded memory devices from machine towns. Every time we do that, we print a report on the state scanner back there. And or we send if we were uploading memory devices, so we have to print those reports. And so those go into binders and we're just making sure that we have the tools, right? And so that's what they're using over there. There's some ballots that we go through the scanner. For election night or here, those are called auxiliary ballots. They're kind of at the end of the town, they're kind of at the end here. So that took a lot of yesterday, was 40 ballots. And election staff. I'll show you the password. It's like it's a digital. And they have to do those for all the handcuffs. So they created them. Approved. They looked at those handcuff ballots and they approved those against the password record to make sure that we had counted correctly. And now they're approving the totals for the last binder by county. Once all of this terabyte counts is done, then all of the data, which is in our computer system, it's not going to come in, but it all has to get uploaded together all of this into a huge, giant 400,000 plus spreadsheet of votes, records, password records. So that's, so the proofing is happening. It happens, these binders, it happens, ballots that's already on. And then we can go up. But we're gonna take pause before you start. So that people can watch it. Because watching this proof 400,000 probably not.
Okay. Yeah. So like I was told that previously like
That's the fast part. The slow part is very fast.
oh let's just have it over the last one. Yeah.
That's just verifying we have all of this. Right. So in some ways, it's like, people should feel really good. So the first thing is making sure that we and we created a real task with records. Let me show you your password record. Can I show something?
Yeah, sorry.
Like, so what they prove.
The number of ballot. This is the precinct. Ballot style, so we accelerate what's more.
Question.
So we call.
Oh, yeah.
We initially went through it, we were like, okay.
So this one is. Oh, and this one, for example, they voted
Sorry.
yeah, so undervote means blank. We already know that. And we know that from what the towns told us. It's about 12,000. So they didn't choose either. Ontario. Oh, in the Casco record? Yeah. And you will, So I think the answer is yes. What's that? Or I. Oh, yeah. Do you watch this over?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just explaining to one of our television reporters what a cast vote record is. And I've been talking a lot about the cast vote records. Here we have the bin of auxiliary ballots from Waldo County. Thank you, Angela, one of our managers, for holding that. So a cast vote record is a spreadsheet. Now we'll make this publicly available, but you can see there's the number of the cast vote record number. That's just a unique identifier to identify the ballot because we're not putting people's names there. So we don't know. I can't tell you who you like. I can't pull my friend in Belfast's ballot out of the box. But for this particular ballot from Belfast, which is this top row, it's an auxiliary ballot, so it's counted by hand, and it was a vote for Terrio. Undervote blank is a blank. Undervote blank. So Terrio gets that. It was the first choice for Terrio. Those are counted on election night, and we have verified that that's a Terrio vote, and the campaigns have been verifying those numbers. The second cast vote record here, you see the second ballot in that batch, a Belfast ballot. It's an auxiliary, which is that had to be counted by hand. It says write-in Jared Terrio. So that person chose a write-in first and Jared second. So in the ranked choice voting tabulation, Jared Golden will get that vote. And you can look at these cast vote records. You can see every ballot for every town. This is what, and then there are over 400,000 of these that have been created here in this process. We have to bring all those together, and then we have to proofread those. That's going to take quite some time. So we want to actually do the ranked choice voting tabulation part where we'll be rolling up those second choices to either Terrio or Golden until after lunch. Thanks, Angela. Okay. Sure. Okay.
I will.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we set that aside? We do Belfast.
Sure can.
Yeah, no apologies. Yeah. Just feels bad.
So the campaigns have asked Director Peckham to look into one of the towns in Hancock County just to double check why the totals were slightly off and make sure that there was a proper reconciliation with the clerk. So Director Peckham is checking into that town and they are finishing off Waldo County's reconciliation. We are here at 45 Commerce Drive. This is the ranked choice voting tabulation for Congressional District 2. Now, some people are saying, why did it even have to go to ranked choice voting? That's because there weren't 2 candidates, but 3 candidates. There were, of course, the 2 leading frontrunners, incumbent Jared Golden, Democrat from Lewiston, and Representative Austin Terrio, Republican from Aroostook County. But then there was a 3rd candidate, Diane Miranda of Surrey. So while Jared and Austin got the overwhelming vast majority of votes on when those totals came in from the towns on election night, what we see here is that there were about 12,000 voters who did not vote either for Terrio or for Golden for that first choice. And under the law, if it is mathematically possible for the outcome to change, then you have to go to ranked choice voting. And of course, because there was only about a 2,000 vote difference between Golden and Terrio, I mean, this is a very close race. If you're wondering whether it's worth voting, it is worth voting, especially you see these legislative races where recounting Lewiston was a 36 vote difference. In this Congressional District 2 race, which is the largest congressional district east of the Mississippi, you had a margin of just a couple thousand votes. And so because you had 12,000 voters who had a first choice that was something other than Terrio or Golden, their second choices could statistically, mathematically change the outcome. Now, one of the questions was, well, if those are just blank votes, why do we care? Because on election night, the totals for Diane Miranda, as reported to the Secretary of State by the towns prior to our official certification, of course, were that Diane Miranda had received only 420 of those 12,000 votes. Well, what we demonstrated to one of our friends in the media here is they could see that there were, in fact, some people who left that first oval blank, but did have a second choice vote or wrote in someone other than Miranda and then had a second choice that was either Golden and Terrio. And so we need to make sure that the will of voters is reflected in the final tally under the ranked choice voting law. That's why we do this painstaking process. So what takes the longest? What takes the longest is verifying the vote. That is verifying that here in this room, we've counted all of the ballots, we've counted all the votes for from all the voters, from all the towns and townships and cities in Congressional District 2. And that furthermore, what we've counted here matches what the municipalities reported. And if it didn't, for example, yesterday we saw with Winterport, they accidentally double counted some of their absentee ballots. So we had to take those out, right? We showed the campaigns the tapes, so they could see that mathematical error that just accidents happen. And they accidentally double counted those absentee votes. So we backed those out and they can see why. And then that's the reconciliation, right? So they know that the total that we have here from Winterport, for example, is accurate and reflects the will of the voters. So we're doing some final proofing. We're proofing Hancock County, Waldo County, Kennebec County. And once every town and every county is proofed by the campaigns, then we put it all together. We bring all those cast vote records together in one computer. I know Director Peckham has been working on that. And then we're able to take a deep breath and get ready to run that ranked choice voting tabulation. At this point, we're not going to be doing that because we've got to proof over 400,000 records. That's going to take some time. We'll do that in the early afternoon after everyone's had some lunch. We'll be running that ranked choice voting tabulation, hopefully sometime this afternoon.
Yeah, can we, Josh is on his way over. I was like, this is a
So. Yeah.
We need to look at.
We will want to do all that.
Okay. Great. Feedback.
It's just finishing up something.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're good. Okay, are you guys good? Okay, so here's my work. So this is your absentees. So we did 5 absentees. We did plus these absentees was 1287. 287. Sorry, that's a line for all. So there's my 287 right there. Hostage. And then I have.
Okay.
One, two, did. So the total.
So what the campaigns identified is there was a difference between the election night results coming out of Winter Harbor and what was scanned here when we scanned those ballots into the DS 850. And so what we're going to do is open the boxes in full view of the campaigns once the attorneys arrive. And the campaigns are going to review all of the tally sheets from the town to see, was it an addition error? Did somebody forget their calculator and they were trying to do it in their head and they didn't quite get it right? Or was there a mistake here? Do we need to recount those ballots? But we are going to make sure we get those totals to match. We understand exactly which one is correct. And we do that with the presence of attorneys from both campaigns. And you will get those boxes from the town of Winter Harbor. Winter Harbor, home to Representative Billy Bob Fockingham, a lobster fisherman. Winter Harbor also home to part of Acadia National Park. It's Schoodic. When I was a kid, that was free. We would go down there all of the time. You didn't have to have that Acadia National Park pass. Now you do have to have the park pass just because it has become so popular. Really gets some a tremendous number of visitors to Schoodic Point, and the surf at Schoodic Point is amazing. Now, if you're a birder, there are also some great winter birding, ducks and other seabirds out off of Schoodic Point. So check out Schoodic Point next time you're in Maine. Check out Winter Harbor. Used to be a naval base there, and now we have a research station. They do biological research down there, and it's open to the public, of course, with the Schoodic Point aspect of Acadia National Park. Some gorgeous coastal trails in that area. One of my favorite places, not far from my hometown. But we do have to verify the vote. So that's why law enforcement will be retrieving those blue tamper-proof ballot boxes. The attorneys will be reviewing those boxes being opened. They'll review the votes. They'll review the warden's tally sheets. They'll try to identify, was it simply an error of addition or subtraction, or do we need to go back and scan those ballots again? And that's why sometimes these processes can take a little longer than expected. For example, this morning we had to scan those Edington ballots because we couldn't import those cast vote records. And so that's, that's just part of the process, is making sure everything ties out and making sure both sides, both the Golden and the Terrio campaign, agree that the results are correct and that we have every vote counted in this cast vote record before we do that ranked choice voting tabulation. So far, just a refresh from our whiteboard here, we have done Aroostook, Washington County. Oh, we need to move the other way. We've done Aroostook County, Washington County, Oxford County, Franklin County, Somerset County, Piscataquis County, Penobscot County, and Androscoggin County. So we should get some stars there for Penobscot and for Androscoggin. They are done. Congratulations, everybody. Also, we've done the Ucaba. Shout out to Linda Ruth Hadley, our warden for the Ucaba votes. We really appreciate her hard work. Shout out to the folks in Androscoggin County, Penobscot County, Piscataquis County. So we have all of those counties. The campaigns are just finalizing proofreading of Hancock, Waldo, and Kennebec. And for Hancock, we're now going to retrieve those ballot boxes for Winter Harbor. So
We can finish this real quick.
oh, you want to finish?
We are really close.
The Belfast.
Oh,
We're in Belfast. So
Okay.
it's tied into the-
Yeah.
actually, before they retrieve Winter Harbor, they're just proofing Belfast. So they'll proof Belfast and then retrieve Winter Harbor. so we can verify the votes, make sure that we have a cast vote record for every ballot that was cast in those towns. Don't go away. We'll be here all day.
So I have a scan. It is a.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so don't know about that. The trick is to break it.
So all those done, so we're ready for. Whatever. Not whatever.
This Waldo
Something
binder,
about these winners.
I can take the Waldo binder away, the binder.
Yes.
So we'll talk about the discrepancy. We can talk about the discrepancy and how we plan on reconciling it. So on election night, 122 Golden, 190 Terrio, 21. And about got Golden Terrio, 158. So then we got.
Yeah, because I.
13.
I'll actually set my one. Just in case.
I'm gonna do right here. It's quite a bit. So we need to open the boxes, look at the tally sheets, see if we can reconcile that, like what we see does not match. And they have two things in there, so we would like to open those boxes. Come over. We will look for the tally sheets. Yeah, the total 332 ballots was what? It's not that you don't see it, it's because the distribution is different. Right here.
Well, this is what was scanned. And
Yes.
oh, no, that's.
So one for the whole.
Yes, everybody sees that?
No, I.
You see that?
Just page right here.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. I'll go.
We're done, Waldo.
So I just checked in with the campaigns. Belfast checked out. To quote the Terrio campaign, yes, it checked out. It was perfect. That's what we like to see. Way to go, Waldo. So we got purple stars today, but they get a gold star. What we need to do, however, the totals that we scanned here for the town of Winter Harbor don't match those election night totals. So the attorneys are walking over. Actually, let's do that. You guys are gonna just listen, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So these are the referendum ballots which are still in their box.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah.
So Winter Harbor did a really good job in separating out their referendum ballots and their candidate ballots and putting them in two separate boxes. So the box Melissa opened had the referendum ballots. Those were getting returned. The candidates saw that, or excuse me, the campaigns verified that those were just referendum ballots in that second box. In that first box are the candidate ballots as well as the warden's tally sheets. Now, what they're going to examine are the warden's tally sheets to identify what the results, whether the results on those tally sheets tie out to the results reported by the town to the state or not. And if for any reason they do not, then we would look at those ballots. So the campaigns are checking it out. The lawyers are there. And that's what this is about, right? It's verifying the vote, making sure that both sides can see what's going on.
That matches what they are.
We need to get that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so they just wrote, they
Yeah,
accidentally
so-
wrote the global more rates. Yep.
Yeah, no, I.
So when we can. We got 159, 160, and 30.
Oh, which is right here.
No, it's the same. I just.
Ah, okay, can I go explain that to folks?
Yes.
Here you go.
I'll bring this right back, because I know this is official. So what I'm holding came out of that blue box. It's actually the warden's total tally sheet. Now, the warden on election night, you know, they sit down, they hand count those ballots in these small towns like Winter Harbor, and they carefully, meticulously put in all of the votes. So you can see 24, 24, 23, 25, 23, 22, 18, 159 for Jared Golden, 23, 25, 25, 24, 24, 26, 13, 160 total for Austin Terrio. Austin Terrio beating Jared Golden by 1 vote in Winter Harbor, net 13. Now, when you look down at this race below, you can see that Marianne Moore, the incumbent Republican senator for Washington County and part of Hancock County, including Winter Harbor, got 190 votes to Jonathan Goebel's 122. When you look at the warden's report to the Secretary of State, you can see that 122 to 190 for Goebel and Moore for the state Senate race. And just above it, you see 122 votes for Golden to 190 for Austin Terrio. What happened is somebody was really tired, and this happens, it's just an honest mistake. They accidentally transposed those numbers from the Goebel Moore race up here into the Golden Terrio race. So when we scanned those ballots here, we actually found that in fact it was 159 to 160. 160 votes for Terrio, 159 votes for Jared Golden. So the votes that were scanned here were counted correctly. That allowed us to proof against the election night tally. Kudos to the campaign for recognizing that those numbers didn't quite tie out. And that's why, oh, you want the tally sheets before you close the box? So, well, we're gonna return that tally sheet to the blue box because this is the official record before they lock it.
So.
We should support that. They're gonna have to, we're gonna have to correct it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we start?
So while they wait for an update to that Winter Harbor number so they can finalize Hancock County, they are going to move on to proofing Kennebec County. And, you know, I was asked recently, what's all this proofing? There are proofreading of multiple steps in the process, right? So when we took those ballots from Winter Harbor, which is a hand count town, and we ran them through the 850 in the back of the room, the DS 850 from ES&S, which is a high-speed scanner, we printed a report from that DS 850 to show what those totals were, right? And that is part of the report that gets proved on a town by town basis over here. Now, any ballots that are hand counted, and in fact, there were, I believe, 3 auxiliary ballots for Winter Harbor. We create a manual cast vote record and proof those both with our election officials and then here with the campaigns. So there are multiple steps of proofreading. Now, we're not quite done when we proof on a town by town, county by county basis. We're gonna have to upload all of those cast vote records into one huge, ginormous spreadsheet of cast vote records. It's gonna be over 400,000 records. And then we need to proof that as well. And once that is proofed, we'll be able to hit the button and do the ranked choice voting tabulation. We're getting close to noon time. We will be taking a break around noon, and we will be picking this back up in the afternoon. And that proofreading of those 400,000 records will take quite some time. And of course, if there's anything missing, we'll open those blue boxes. We'll look for it. If we have to scan ballots, we might do that. We don't know until we upload all those records and we do that proofreading whether we have everything. And once we are satisfied, we've got everything, we're ready to go, then we'll run that ranked choice voting tabulation. So I'm cautiously optimistic we'll get it done today, but there are those, and this happened with Edington, right? We approved the town by town total in that Penobscot binder. But then when we went to acquire those cast vote records, just for Penobscot County, Edington didn't move over. So we had to just rescan those ballots. And we did that in front of the attorneys so that they could make sure that those totals were adding up. So I'll be back in a bit. We'll probably be breaking for lunch fairly soon.
651, 452, and there was a blank to write in 39, 1142. So Ward 2 was the one where the two auxiliary ballots. So Jared Golden has 530. Terry Alt is 504. And then the blank to write in. So we're at 1065. Too short. Golden was 582. Cherry Alt was 67. Cherry Alt was 59. Blank and right here 49. So 1392. Yeah. So we have 3325, 17 at the stand, 3342, 1662, 15 at the stand. Three on the stand and blank.
Possible.
25, 3 plus 1, 8, 2, 8, and then 3, 2, 11.
Perfect. We're doing the county. Are we done?
We're down to Canada.
All right.
No, we're not.
We're not done with
on the
Canada.
Winter Harbor. We wanna-
Yeah, that's why I telling the clerk. Yeah, okay. So the campaigns are working on proofreading Kennebec County. In the back of the room, Director Peckham is making contact with Winter Harbor so we can get an updated warden's return there. And then they will proof Winter Harbor. And we will then be ready to do that consolidation of data, but we're gonna break for lunch before we do that. And then that proofing is gonna take quite some time this afternoon. So in the other room, there's a really exciting recount for the Lewiston House District 96.
It feels so empty. You say it takes quite some time. Consolidate.
1 second, I'm sorry. I just got word that Lewiston is the recount. They're breaking for lunch so everyone can go break for lunch. They'll be back at 12:45. We're gonna go a little bit longer here. We're gonna finish proofing Kennebec County. Then we'll break for lunch and come back and reconcile all of those vote records. But we're gonna keep going until we finish Kennebec County. So at least we know we've done that town by town, county by county proofing. Let's see, that shouldn't take that long. What were you
I
asking?
was just asking about the consolidated approving process.
It's over 400,000 cast vote records, and we make sure that we have cast vote records. So what we're doing is we're looking to make sure, so, you know, for example, there were.
So they're.
So you gotta go through 400,000 lines. Like something that George.
So they.
I don't.
There's something that was maybe like. State of the. I think there were three factors out here. You know, like sometimes.
So we had a bunch of folks just come into this room, and that's because they're not watching Lewiston right now. It is actually a lot of work, not only for the elections division to be simultaneously running a recount and a ranked choice voting tabulation, but it's a lot of work for the campaigns as well, because some of those party officials from the Maine Democratic Party and the Maine Republican Party are doing double duty. So kudos, shout out to those party officials doing the double duty here on site, going back and forth between the recount and the ranked choice voting tabulation. We are almost finished with that town by town, county by county reconciliation process. Then after lunch, we're going to have to look at all of those cast vote records, proof those, and then we'll be ready to do that ranked choice voting tabulation, hopefully by the end of the afternoon. So what do you want to know about me? Maine. We are one of the best states in the nation for voter turnout. In 2022, we were in fact number 1. In 2020, we were number 3. And this year, we saw more Mainers vote in this election than ever before. Additionally, why do we have such great turnout? Well, I think a big piece of it is the independence inherent in our redistricting process, which we call reapportionment. Doesn't matter which political party is in charge. We have equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans participating in that redistricting with an independent chair to oversee the whole thing. So they really have to come to agreement as they're redrawing those lines for our congressional districts, our state Senate districts, and our state House districts. So that the population of the districts is proportional and is equal. So even though we have Congressional District 1 has our largest municipality, Portland, it falls around the coast, the population for Congressional District 1 is roughly the same as the population of Congressional District 2, which is across 11 of our counties, of our 16 counties. So land area wise is much larger. And then similarly, redistricting in our state house races is very competitive. So we have a lot of competitive races. And with those competitive races come recounts. So we actually have 11 recounts because we had 9 state legislative races that came down to less than 1% margin of victory. In fact, we had 1 state house race that was a tie. So we'll be recounting all of those state legislative races. Now, part of the pressure is on. We need to do those state legislative recounts, certainly for those that are within that 1%, prior to November 25th. What's November 25th? It's our state certification deadline. And that's important because the new legislature will be coming in, new member orientation already starting next week, and they will be starting their work the first week in December. One of their first acts, of course, is to elect the constitutional officers. Then they come back in January and they start work on those bills. And as a citizen legislature, so it's people from all walks of life serving in that legislature. So that's why we're doing both a recount and the ranked choice voting tabulation simultaneously today. It means folks are getting their steps in between the 2 secure rooms. Deputy Secretary Julie Flynn is running the recount. Director of Elections, Heidi Peckham, and our Deputy for Election Administration, Post-Election Audits, and Administrative Services, running this ranked choice voting tabulation here in Maine. So I am going to be going to do some media live in a few minutes because we do have a lot of folks on site. They're eager to know what are the results of the ranked choice voting tabulation. So we're finalizing this reconciliation. Are we done with Kennebec County?
No, we have another similar slight issue with that.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a look at the
Do we want
tabs.
to look at that afterwards, or do we want to do it before lunch?
I think one is 50,000.
She's in, no, she's coming.
Oh, okay. Oh, these were in an envelope, not a box. Okay, so we're gonna look at Fayette, just like Winter Harbor, those numbers were slightly off, so we've got to get those tally sheets and we've got to show the attorneys for both campaigns. Okay, in the ballot boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna see to see if they're here, and if not, we're gonna have to go.
Where's that? Okay, yes. So we'll go ahead and show those boxes. Because the other teams,
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we keep going?
Yes, keep going.
Seems like we're running
Keep going.
late.
That way we can get those boxes.
I keep that one out.
How's that work with for you? Still not?
And what's the difference? Well,
All right. So they're continuing to go through Kennebec County for the proofing. We are going to have to retrieve those blue ballot boxes from Fayette so we can look at the warden's tally sheets and see what the discrepancy is there between ballots counted here on site and ballots reported by the municipality on election night. It might be like Winter Harbor where it's just a transposition error, but we won't know until we actually get those ballots. So we're live at the ranked choice voting tabulation. The campaigns are here. We're going to try to move through Kennebec County so that we know that the Lewiston folks are at lunch. We're going to try to move through Kennebec County now and utilize this time. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Yes. Oh, shoot. Yes, correct. Awesome. Great.
Okay, perfect, just for.
We ended up having to reconcile Penobscot, Hancock, Waldo, Kennebec. Yes, we left off with 4, but we went back to Penobscot.
So left off with 4, or do you want me to say 4 or 5?
Why don't we say we had done 6 yesterday?
Yeah, we had 5. It's 30 like.
Hey folks, I'm joining you now as the House District 96 recount. That part of Lewiston House District has broken for lunch. They'll be back on at 12:45 if you're trying to watch both this and that live stream. That one's over on our Facebook page. Here we're on our YouTube. So I can see some more reconciliation happening behind me. Again, that's with Secretary of State staff on one side of the table and staff from both of the campaigns, representatives, whether lawyers or otherwise, on this side, going line by line, town by town to ensure that we're counting all of those votes.
Yeah.
That could be it.
Right, but those number one, question is so many, right?
Right.
And so everyone,
All right, all set? You did a great job.
Hi, Ryan. Ranked choice vote tabulations are expected to finish up today. Maine Secretary of State Shanabella said that her team made great progress yesterday. They came in this morning with only a few times left to reconcile. I believe they only have 2 left as of now before they begin the rest of their process. They have said that they have not seen much difference in the votes that were counted on election night compared to the votes that they are verifying here. And I do have Secretary of State Shanabella is joining me here live today. So what is that process going to look like today as you're proving?
So we have 2 counties left, Kennebec County and Hancock County. And earlier today, we realized the attorneys for both campaigns present. There then is a transposition error on election night. Tired volunteers, they put the results for a state senate race as the result for the voluntary race. So we fixed that just now. So we'll finish proving Hancock County with the campaigns, and we have to sign off on that reconciliation, and we'll finish Kennebec County. After that, you have to upload all of the cast vote records, so actually the digital imprint of every single ballot, right, into our system. To make sure that everything is there for you to prove it. Over 400,000 records, each one of those corresponding to votes.
That was a process. From my understanding, it takes a while. When are we possibly going to see those results? Are we thinking in afternoon, late tonight? What are you expecting?
Best case scenario, mid-afternoon, but anything can happen in that process of transferring those records, uploading the digital system. So earlier this morning, we got the Shaman County, Edington did vote, go back and scan those ballots. Hopefully we won't have to do any ballots getting this application, but any records are missing. Have to check why. So both sides, so verify the vote for the Congressional District 2. So the voters know their votes were counted. We verified the first choice rankings, then we run the second choices.
Speaking of those second choices, there were about 12,000 voters who selected an undeclared candidate as their first ranked choice. We talked all throughout this week about how mathematically there is a possibility that if those candidate voters who voted for someone other than Ontario or Golden in that first rank option, if their second rank option was for one of those candidates, there is a possibility that the tides could switch on this.
Exactly right. Less than a 1% difference between Golden, Ontario, Golden leading those election night results, but it's about a 2,000 plus vote difference. Those other 12,000 voters, their second choices, could make a difference. It's not likely to change the outcome, but it's possible. That's why we're doing this second choice voting.
Well, we'll be here all day, making sure that we get those updates. I'll continue to make sure you have all the information you need. Brian, let's get back to you. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So Secretary Bellows just did an interview with one of our local media here. So if you're not watching on the, or folks who are watching on the live stream, maybe they're getting their updates about this process on local TV. We're looking at best case scenario for results mid-afternoon. But again, if we need to do any work to make sure that all of the results are included in that essentially very big spreadsheet of everyone's first, second, third choice votes, we'll take the time to do that correctly, prove everything with those two campaigns. So we're still reconciling two counties left. We have both Hancock and Kennebec County as our last two that are being reconciled. Looks like one of them is being worked on over here to my left, but we are definitely getting very close. So stay tuned here on the live stream. If you want to, come down to 45 Commerce Drive here in Augusta. It's headquarters of Maine State Police as well, so nice and secure for all of these ballots, memory devices, other election material. Not much in action, but definitely hard at work here on those spreadsheets, making sure that every vote counts and every vote is counted.
And she pulled up her ordinance which person was cast and that matched. So it was just a simple entry. She was, it was the same one as so this one should be. Material got 160. And then there were 13. Plus the 332, 159, 169. Right, she just picked up the word.
So again, a lot of this proofing is just checking that everything was recorded right on election day and that we have the right numbers here. Sometimes, especially if it's the middle of the night, people have been working all day since the wee hours of the morning, getting those final setup touches on their polling location. Typos happen, transposition happens. Going back to look at the source, making sure that we have those right numbers, checking with clerks on any discrepancies that we're seeing, all in the effort to make sure that we have the right results here so that we know among those about 12,000 Congressional District 2 voters who chose something other than Golden and Ontario, who did they choose, if anyone, in their second ranking? So that we can add those totals for Congressman Golden, Representative Ontario to those first ranking totals from election night. That about 48% plus that each of them earned from the voters in that first ranking. Once we are able to add those votes in, then we'll know who was the winner when it's just those two candidates, because one of them will have more than 50%.
Number. And that's something that we do, yeah. To make sure we have the right number.
Are you guys comfortable with that?
It's a fail safe to make sure, hey.
Yeah, so it's all.
Yeah.
The ones that you signed off on, those are the.
Sounds like we might have an update shortly on what's been happening over to my left at this table. Again, with Secretary of State staff on one side and folks from the campaigns on the other. Folks, sitting side by side, making sure that every vote is counted correctly. The campaigning portion of this is over. We're just figuring out who voted for whom and what those totals are.
So Emily, we're going to be breaking for lunch here. They have almost completed Kennebec. We are going to retrieve the blue boxes from Fayette and Gardner to verify the vote, to look for why those totals are slightly off for those two towns. We're going to do that after lunch. We're going to let the campaigns and the election staff and law enforcement break for lunch. So let's see, we're gonna lock the ballots and we'll have folks move out. We're gonna stop this live stream as soon as those doors are locked, and we'll empty this room. People will go have lunch. We are going to come back. We'll come back at 1 o'clock. So we'll start up a new live stream on the YouTube at 1 o'clock this afternoon, live from Augusta, 45 Commerce Drive. We're here at the ranked choice voting tabulation for the Golden Terrier race. Now, just a little bit of background. Remember, there were over 400,000 votes cast. Maine had record turnout in 2024. Now, you might say, hey, I thought Golden was declared the winner with over 50% on election night. That's because Maine does not have official election night reporting. That reporting that happens on election night is unofficial. It's the towns calling in totals to the media. Media may have observers on site. The campaigns, of course, that counting that happens on election night is fully transparent and open to the public and campaign representatives. When I was a state senator, I would send volunteers to all of my 11 towns in southern Kennebec County so they could watch the count and text me the results as soon as it was released. But those election night totals, so I know at least a couple of outlets in the media did not report that declared write-in Diane Miranda of Surrey, or what we call legally blanks, which are undeclared write-ins. So if you wrote in mom or your favorite other elected official or community leader instead of Jared Golden or Austin Terrio or Diane Miranda, or if it was blank in that first column, because what Maine voters saw was a ranked choice voting ballot with Jared Forrest Golden first alphabetically. That's how we do it in Maine. Then Austin Terrio, then write-in, where folks could in fact write in Diane Miranda. Or some folks, at least 12,000 folks, either wrote in someone else or left that first choice column blank. But then legally, we need to look at that second choice. And the winner is 50% plus one of all of the votes cast, because we need to reflect the will of all of the voters. Are we, looks like we're getting ready. Our election staff is exiting. Law enforcement is going to be in this room standing guard outside of the guardrail for the duration. They're going to step outside of that guardrail and then close that guardrail. But they are here providing security. Thank you to Maine State Police. Thank you to Election Security. So we'll be signing off. But please join us back at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
Is that all?
No.